The escape pod hit the purple ocean hard. Water rushed inside through the broken glass. Sergeant Park Do-hyun pulled himself out before the pod sank into the dark water. He swam toward the strange beach he could see in the distance. His muscles burned. His lungs screamed for air. But he kept swimming. Do-hyun was a soldier of the United Earth Forces. His ship, the U.S. Morning Star, had been destroyed in a battle against the Crimson Fleet. He was the only survivor from his section. The escape pod's computer had found the nearest planet with breathable air and sent him there. He did not know where he was. He did not know if anyone would come to save him. He reached the beach and collapsed on the pink sand. The sand felt warm under his body. He looked up at the sky. 2 suns hung there, one orange and one pale blue. Strange birds with 4 wings flew overhead. He was definitely not on Earth anymore. Do-hyun checked his equipment. He had his standard military uniform, now wet and heavy. He had a small knife on his belt. He had a communication device, but it was broken from the crash. He had nothing else. No food, no water, no weapon except a small knife. He stood up slowly. His body hurt everywhere. He was 32 years old, tall and strong from years of military training. His short black hair was messy and full of salt from the ocean. His brown eyes looked around, searching for danger or shelter. The beach led to a forest of tall trees with silver leaves. The trees were unlike anything on Earth. They were twisted and beautiful. Strange flowers grew everywhere, glowing softly in colors he had never seen before. Do-hyun walked into the forest. He needed to find water. Clean water, not the salty ocean. He walked for a long time. The 2 suns moved slowly across the sky. He found a small stream with clear water. He tested it carefully with his tongue first, then drank deeply when it seemed safe. He did not know he was being watched. In the trees above him, hidden behind silver leaves, 5 figures observed the strange creature below. They had never seen anything like him. He was tall and had an unusual body shape. His skin was a warm brown color. He had short, dark hair on his head and some hair on his face. His body was thick with something they did not understand. Muscle. The males of their species did not have bodies like this. The leader of the Watchers was named Yuna. She was a scout for her village. Her skin was pale blue, like the smaller sun in the sky. Her hair was long and white, moving softly, even without wind. Her eyes were large and purple, perfect for seeing in the dark forests of her world. She was tall and thin, as all her people were. Yuna gestured to her team silently. They had been tracking this creature since it fell from the sky in a bowl of fire. They had never seen a species like this visit their world before. The creature looked similar to her people in some ways. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, but everything else was different. So different. The creature's body was heavy and solid. The creatures on Yuna's world were light and thin. This being looked like it was built for fighting, for survival in harsh conditions. Its movements were confident, even though it was clearly lost and alone. Yuna made a decision. She dropped down from the tree and landed silently in front of the creature. Do-hyun jumped back in shock. His hand went to his knife. Before him stood the most unusual person he had ever seen. She was humanoid, yes, but clearly not human. Her blue skin seemed to glow softly. Her white hair floated around her head like she was underwater. Her purple eyes studied him with intense curiosity. She wore simple clothing made from some kind of plant material. Behind her, 4 more beings dropped from the trees. They all looked similar to the first one. All female, if he was reading their bodies correctly. All beautiful in a strange alien way. Do-hyun held up his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. His knife stayed on his belt. "I am peaceful," he said slowly. "I mean no harm." The blue-skinned woman tilted her head. She did not understand his words, but she understood his gesture. Her people use similar body language for peace. Yuna stepped closer to the strange being. She had so many questions. What was he? Where did he come from? Why was his body so different from the males she knew? The males of her species were small and weak. They stayed in the villages, caring for children and doing simple work. They could not hunt. They could not fight. They could not survive alone in the wild like this creature clearly could. She reached out and touched his arm. She felt the hard muscle under his wet clothing. She pulled her hand back quickly, surprised. Nothing on her world felt like this. He was warm, much warmer than her people. He was solid, like stone wrapped in soft skin. Do-hyun stayed very still. He let the alien woman touch him. He understood that she was curious. He was curious too. Her touch had been cold, like touching ice, but not unpleasant. Yuna, the woman said, pointing to herself. Yuna, Do-hyun repeated. He pointed to himself. Do-hyun. Do-hyun, she repeated. Her voice was musical, like soft bells. The other 4 women came closer. They surrounded him, looking at him from all sides. They talked to each other in their flowing musical language. Do-hyun caught the word they kept repeating. It sounded like Varan. He did not know what it meant. Yuna pointed toward the forest, in a direction Do-hyun had not explored. She gestured for him to follow. He hesitated for a moment. He did not know these people. He did not know if they were dangerous. But he was alone on a strange planet with no food, no shelter, and no way to call for help. Following them was his best chance for survival. He nodded and began to walk with them. As they moved through the silver forest, Yuna walked beside him. She kept looking at him, studying every part of his body. The other women whispered and pointed. Do-hyun felt like an animal in a zoo, but he understood. He was as strange to them as they were to him. The walk took several hours. Finally, they reached a village built into the massive trees. Platforms and houses connected by bridges filled the canopy above. Hundreds of the blue-skinned people lived here. When they saw Do-hyun, the entire village went silent. Every purple eye turned to look at him. Then the whispering began, spreading through the crowd like fire. He heard that word again, over and over. Varen. Meren. He did not know that in their language, Meren meant male. And he did not know that no one in this village had seen a male like him in over 1,000 years. The village was called Silverwood. Do-hyun learned this over the next few days. He also learned many other things about the people who had found him. They called themselves the Lunari. Their world was called Valora. Yuna became his guide and teacher. She spent every day with him, teaching him words in her language and learning words in his. Do-hyun was a fast learner. He had always been good with languages. Within 1 week, he could speak simple sentences. Within 2 weeks, he could have basic conversations. He learned that the Lunari were a peaceful people. They did not have wars. They did not have weapons. They lived in harmony with their world, eating fruits and plants from the forest. They built their homes in trees because dangerous animals lived on the ground at night. But the most important thing he learned was about their males. The males of the Lunari were nothing like him. They were small, much smaller than the females. They were weak and could not do physical work. They lived only inside the village, protected and cared for like precious treasures. There were very few of them. For every 100 females, there was only 1 male. When Do-hyun understood this, many things made sense. The way everyone stared at him. The way women touched his arms and shoulders when they passed him. The way the village elders studied him like he was a miracle dot to them. He was a miracle. A male who was tall. A male who was strong. A male who could hunt and fight and survive alone. They had never imagined such a thing was possible. The village leader was a woman named Grandmother Suman. Despite her title, she was not actually a grandmother. She was the oldest and wisest of the village. She had lived for over 500 years. The Lunari lived much longer than humans. Grandmother Suman called Do-Yun to her house one evening. Yuna came with him to help translate the words he did not know yet. The old woman's home was the largest in the village. It was filled with strange plants that glowed in the darkness. Grandmother Suman sat on a cushion made of soft leaves. Her skin was darker blue than the others, showing her age. Her white hair reached the floor. She looked at Do-Yun for a long time before speaking. "You are not from our world," she said. "You fell from the sky." "Yes," Do-Yun replied. "My ship was destroyed in a battle. I escaped in a small pod. It brought me here." "Battle." Grandmother Suman repeated the words slowly. "You fight others of your kind?" Do-Yun felt ashamed, but he answered honestly. "Yes, humans fight each other sometimes. We also fight other species who attack us." The old woman nodded slowly. "Your people have males who fight?" "Yes, men and women both can be soldiers where I come from." This answer caused a long silence. Yuna and Grandmother Suman exchanged looks that Do-Yun could not read. "Show me," Grandmother Suman said finally. Do-Yun was confused. "Show you what?" "Show me how your people fight." Do-Yun stood up. He did not have his knife with him. He moved to an open area of the room and began to demonstrate basic combat. Moves, punches, kicks, blocks, throws. He moved smoothly through the motions. He had practiced thousands of times when he finished. He saw that a crowd had gathered outside the door. Word had spread that the strange male was showing his fighting skills. 20 or 30 women watched with wide eyes and open mouths. Grandmother Suman was smiling. "You are strong," she said. "Stronger than any person I have ever seen. Among my people, I am average," Do-Yun said honestly. "There are many soldiers stronger than me." This information seemed to shock everyone even more. A whole world of males like him. Males who were strong and could fight. The idea was impossible to imagine. Over the following weeks, Do-Yun became famous in Silverwood. Women came from other villages just to see him. They wanted to touch his arms. They wanted to watch him work. They wanted to hear him speak in his strange, deep voice. Do-Yun helped with tasks around the village. He carried heavy things that normally needed 5 women to lift. He helped build new platforms in the trees. He showed them how to make simple tools that made work easier. But he also noticed something that worried him. The males of Silverwood watched him with fear in their eyes. They were small and delicate, with soft voices and gentle movements. They had always been special because they were rare. They had always been important because the Lunari needed them to have children. Now there was Do-Yun, a different kind of male. A male who could do everything a female could do and more. He saw the fear in their eyes. He understood it. They were afraid of becoming less important, less special. Do-Hyun found the place where the village males spent their time. It was a garden on a platform near the center of the village. 7 males lived in Silverwood. They were all there, sitting among flowers and talking quietly. When they saw Do-Yun coming, they went silent. Some of them moved away from him. Do-Hyun sat down at the edge of their garden. He did not come closer. He did not want to scare them more. "Hello," he said in Lunari. "My name is Do-Yun. I want to be friends." A male named Haejun was the bravest. He stepped forward slightly. He was small, barely reaching Do-Hyun's chest. His skin was the palest blue Do-Yun had seen. "You are different," Haejun said. His voice was soft and musical, even softer than the females. "Yes," Do-Yun agreed. "I am from another world. Males are different there. Are all your males like you?" "We are all different." Some are big. Some are small. Some are strong. Some are not. But yes, males can be as strong as females in my world. The males whispered to each other. This was a hard idea for them to accept. Do you want to take our place? Another male asked. His name was Minho. There was fear in his voice. Do-yoon shook his head firmly. No, I do not want anyone's place. I am just a visitor here, a lost traveler. When I can, I will try to return to my people. This seemed to calm them a little. The women look at you differently, Hejin said quietly. They look at you the way they used to look at us. Do-hyun understood. The women were fascinated by him. Some of that fascination was the same kind they would have for the village males. He had seen the looks. He had felt the touches that lasted too long. I will not take anything from you, Do-hyun promised. You are important to your people. That will not change because I am here. He spent the whole afternoon with the village males. He learned about their lives. They had good lives in their way. They were loved and protected. They never had to work hard or face danger. But they also had no freedom. They could not leave the village. They could not choose their own partners. They were precious, but they were also prisoners. Do-yoon felt sad for them. On Earth, men and women were equal. They could both choose their own paths in life. Here, the males had no choices at all. As he walked back to his sleeping platform that night, Yuna was waiting for him. You spent time with the village males, she said. It was not a question. Yes. Why? Do-hyun thought about his answer carefully. Because they are afraid of me. I wanted them to know they do not need to be afraid. Yuna studied his face in the moonlight. Both moons were full tonight, filling the forest with silver light. You are kind, she said. I did not expect that. Why not? You are so strong, so powerful. In our stories, powerful beings are never kind. Do-hyun smiled. In my world, we have a saying. True strength is not in the body. It is in the heart. Yuna did not fully understand his words, but she understood his meaning. She smiled back at him. Neither of them knew that tomorrow would change everything. The attack came at dawn. Do-hyun woke to screaming. The sounds of panic filled the air. He jumped from his sleeping mat and ran outside onto the platform. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Ships filled the sky. Not wooden ships. Metal ships. Spaceships? They were dark red with black markings. Do-hyun recognized the design immediately. The Crimson Fleet, the same enemy who had destroyed his ship, had found this planet. They were not here for him. They did not even know he existed. They were here for the Lunari. The Crimson Fleet were slavers. They traveled from world to world, capturing people to sell on distant planets. Do-hyun had fought them many times before. He knew what they would do to these peaceful, weaponless people. Red beams shot down from the ships. They did not kill, but they stunned. Lunari women fell from the trees like blue leaves. Soldiers in red armor descended on ropes, collecting the unconscious bodies. Do-hyun had no weapon. He had no armor. He had nothing but his training and his fists. He ran toward the nearest enemy soldier. The slaver was twice his size, covered in thick red armor. He carried a stun rifle in his hands. He was loading an unconscious Lunari woman onto his shoulder. He never saw Do-hyun coming. Do-hyun hit him from behind, striking at the joints in the armor where it was weakest. The soldier fell. Do-hyun grabbed the stun rifle and used it against its owner. The soldier stopped moving. One down, many more to go. Do-hyun moved through the village like a ghost. He had trained for urban combat. He had trained for situations like this, though usually with better equipment. He used the trees for cover. He used the bridges for surprise attacks. He took down soldier after soldier, but he was only one man. The slavers were taking hundreds of Lunari, women, children, and the precious males. Do-hyun could not save them all. He focused on the area near the male garden. The males were the most valuable to slavers. He had to protect them. He found Yuna there, fighting with a courage that surprised him. She had no training in combat, but she was using a wooden stick to defend the garden entrance. 2 slavers lay unconscious at her feet. 3 more were approaching her. "Yuna!" Do-hyun shouted. She looked at him. In that moment of distraction, a slaver fired his stun beam at her. She collapsed. Something inside Do-hyun broke. He charged at the 3 soldiers with a roar that came from deep in his chest. It was a sound of pure rage. A sound that humans made when someone they cared about was in danger. The slavers had never heard such a sound. They hesitated for 1 second. That second was enough. Do-hyun crashed into them like a storm. He broke the first soldier's weapon with his bare hands. He threw the second soldier off the platform and into the forest below. The third soldier tried to run. Do-hyun caught him and used him as a shield against 2 more soldiers who had come to help. The fight lasted less than a minute. 5 more soldiers were down. But his rampage had been noticed. A commander from the Crimson Fleet came down from one of the ships. He was larger than the other soldiers. His armor was decorated with gold markings showing his rank. He looked at the pile of unconscious soldiers and then at Do-hyun. "What are you?" the commander asked. He spoke in a common trading language that Do-hyun understood. "I am human," Do-hyun replied. He was breathing hard. His body was covered in sweat and small wounds. But he stood straight and proud. "And you will leave this world, now." The commander laughed. "1 human against my fleet? You are brave, but you are stupid." "Maybe," Do-hyun agreed. "But every soldier you send against me is 1 less soldier taking slaves. How many are you willing to lose?" The commander stopped laughing. He looked at the fallen soldiers again. Do-hyun had taken down 15 of them alone, with no weapon and no armor. The commander had 300 soldiers, but he was a practical man. He calculated the cost. "Take him," the commander ordered. "Alive. He will sell for a fortune." 20 soldiers surrounded Do-hyun. They did not use stun beams. They used nets made of metal wire. They did not give him a chance to fight back. The nets wrapped around him from all directions. He struggled, but even his strength could not break metal. They pulled him down to the platform floor. They tied his hands and feet. The commander walked over and looked down at him. "You fought well," the commander admitted. "You killed none of my men, but you hurt many. That is interesting. Most people kill when they fight. You only disabled." Do-hyun said nothing. He had been trained not to kill unless absolutely necessary. These soldiers were evil, but they were still living beings. "Take him to my ship," the commander ordered. "And take all the blue ones we have collected. We leave in 1 hour." Do-hyun was carried to a transport pod. From there, he could see the village. Much of it was burning. Bodies lay everywhere, though most were just unconscious from the stun beams. The slavers had taken perhaps 200 Lunari. The rest would survive. In the transport pod, he found Yuna. She was awake now, her hands tied like his. Her purple eyes were filled with tears. "Do-hyun," she whispered. "I am sorry. I was not strong enough." "You were very strong," he told her. "You fought when your people could not. That is courage. We are slaves now. They will take us far from home. We will never see Valora again." Do-hyun looked at the other Lunari in the transport pod. Women and males, all terrified, all crying. They had lived in peace their whole lives. They did not know how to face something like this. But Do-hyun did. Listen to me, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. All of you, listen. The crying slowly stopped. Purple Eyes turned to look at him. I am a soldier. I have been captured by enemies before. I have escaped before. And I will escape again. When I do, I will free all of you. How? Someone asked. They are too strong. They have weapons and ships. They have technology, Do-hyun agreed. But they do not have what we have. What do we have? Do-hyun smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator. They think we are weak. They think we are helpless. That is their mistake. They will not guard us carefully because they do not believe we are dangerous. But I am dangerous, and I will teach you to be dangerous too. The transport pod lifted into the air. It flew toward the largest ship in the sky. Do-hyun watched through a small window as Valora grew smaller below them. He made a promise to himself. He would free these people. He would return them to their homes. And he would make the Crimson Fleet regret ever coming to this world. Yuna watched his face as he made this silent promise. She did not know what he was thinking, but she saw something in his eyes that gave her hope. She had thought he was strong because of his body. Now she understood that his true strength was something else. It was his will, his refusal to give up, his determination to protect others even when everything seemed lost. She reached out with her tied hands and touched his arm. I believe you, she said quietly. I do not know how, but I believe you will save us. Do-hyun looked at her. In that moment, he made another promise, one he did not speak out loud. He would not just save her people. He would change their world. The slave ship was called the Red Harvest. It was a massive vessel designed to hold thousands of captured people from dozens of worlds. Do-hyun and the Lunari were placed in a holding area on the lower decks. The cell was large, meant for animals more than people. There was water in a trough and food pellets in a container. The slavers did not care about comfort. They only cared that their cargo stayed alive until it could be sold. Do-hyun studied everything. He watched the guards. He counted their patrol times. He noted where the cameras were located. He examined every wall, every door, every possible weakness in their prison. The other prisoners watched him with hope and fear. They did not understand what he was doing, but they trusted him. On the first night, Do-hyun began teaching. I cannot fight alone, he told them quietly. The guards could not hear through the thick walls. I need help. I will teach you what I know. An older woman named Jisoo stepped forward. She had been a village leader before the attack. We have never learned to fight, Jisoo said. We do not have the strength. You do not need great strength, Do-hyun replied. You need speed. You need surprise. You need teamwork. I will show you. He started with simple things. How to move quietly. How to hide. How to communicate without speaking. The Lunari were naturally graceful and silent. They learned these lessons quickly. Then he taught them how to attack. He showed them the weak points on the armored soldiers. The joints. The neck. The back of the knees. He showed them how to use their lightweight bodies as weapons. How to jump and climb and use the environment around them. In my world, Do-hyun told them, there is a type of fighting called guerrilla warfare. Small groups of people can defeat large armies if they are smart. We will be smart. Every night, they practiced. Every day, they acted like broken, helpless prisoners. The guards saw nothing unusual. Just another group of weak slaves, too scared to cause trouble. Yuna was his best student. She learned everything he taught and asked for more. Her purple eyes burned with a fire that had not been there before. The attack on her village had changed her. I never understood fighting, she told Do-hyun one night. I thought it was barbaric. something only primitive species did. And now? Do-Hyun asked. Now I understand that fighting is not about violence. It is about protecting what you love. My people never needed to fight because nothing threatened us. Now something does. The small male Hajun surprised everyone. He was tiny and weak by any standard, but he was also incredibly brave. He volunteered for the most dangerous part of Do-Hyun's plan. I will go through the ventilation system, Hajun said. I am small enough. I can reach the control room. Do-Hyun looked at him with respect. It is very dangerous. If they catch me, they will kill me, Hajun finished. I know, but I am tired of being protected. I want to help protect others for once. This was perhaps the biggest change Do-Hyun caused. The males of the Lunari had always been kept safe. Now they wanted to fight alongside everyone else. Several other males volunteered for various tasks in the plan. The plan was complex, but simple in concept. Hajun would crawl through the ventilation system to the control room. He would disable the ship's alarms and unlock the cell doors. Then the main group would attack the guards in 3 waves, using the tactics Do-Hyun had taught them. The final part of the plan involved the engine room. Do-Hyun would go there alone. He would not destroy the engines, but he would threaten to. A ship without engines was worth nothing. Even slavers cared about money more than pride. They waited for the right moment. That moment came 2 weeks into their captivity. The ship passed through a dense asteroid field. All the crew were busy navigating. Security was at its lowest point. Do-Hyun gave the signal. Hajun disappeared into a ventilation opening that the Lunari had secretly widened over many nights. He moved through the dark passages with the silence of his people. His heart beat fast, but his hands were steady. In the control room, 3 crew members worked at their stations. They did not notice the small figure that dropped from the ceiling behind them. Hajun moved like water. He applied the sleeping holds that Do-Hyun had taught him. One by one, the crew members slumped over their consoles. In less than a minute, the room was his. He found the security controls. He disabled the alarms. He unlocked the cell doors across the ship. The main attack began. 200 Lunari women and males poured out of their cells. The first wave targeted the weapons storage. The second wave blocked the corridors leading to the prisoner area. The third wave attacked the guards directly. The guards were confused and unprepared. They expected frightened, helpless prisoners. Instead, they found organized attackers who moved like ghosts and struck like snakes. Do-Hyun led the assault on the engine room. 20 Lunari followed him, armed with weapons taken from fallen guards. They faced heavy resistance. The engine room was the heart of the ship. It was well protected. Do-Hyun fought at the front. He moved through the enemy soldiers with brutal efficiency. His training took over. Every movement was calculated. Every strike hit its target. He did not kill, but he left a trail of unconscious bodies behind him. They reached the engine room door. Do-Hyun used an access card stolen from a guard. The door opened. Inside, the chief engineer stood with 10 armed soldiers. They had been expecting this attack. Surrender, the engineer said. You cannot escape. We have called for reinforcements. Do-Hyun walked forward slowly. He held a device in his hand. A simple device that he had built from parts stolen from the guards over many days. Do you know what this is? He asked. The engineer looked at the device. His face went pale. That is impossible. You could not have built that. Humans are very clever, Do-Hyun said with a cold smile. This is a magnetic pulse generator. If I activate it, every electronic system on this ship will fail. Life support, navigation, engines, everything. We will all die together. You are bluffing. Do-hyun pressed a button on the device. The lights flickered. Every soldier in the room felt their armor systems go dead for a moment before coming back online. That was 1% power, Do-hyun said. Want to see 100%? The engineer dropped his weapon. The soldiers followed. Victory. Within the hour, the former prisoners controlled the entire ship. The crew were locked in the same cells that had held the Lunari. The commander who had captured them was forced to watch as his own soldiers were tied up. "This is impossible," the commander kept saying. "How did you do this? You had no weapons. No training." Do-hyun stood before him, tired but proud. "You made a mistake," Do-hyun told him. "You thought these people were weak because they were peaceful. Peace is not weakness. It is a choice. And when you took away their peace, they chose something different." Yuna stood beside Do-hyun. She was injured from the fighting. A cut on her arm bled blue blood. But she stood straight and fierce. "We are going home," she told the commander. "And you will take us there?" The commander looked at the former slave, who now commanded his ship. He looked at the small male, who had brought down his entire security system. He looked at the 200 prisoners who had defeated his 300 soldiers. He nodded slowly. "What are you?" He asked Do-hyun again, the same question from their first meeting. Do-hyun's answer was the same, but now it meant something different. "I am human, and you have learned what that means." The Lost Soldier, Part 5. The Red Harvest returned to Valora 3 weeks after the attack. The people who remained on the planet saw the slaver ship approach and prepared for the worst. They thought the enemy had returned to take more of them. Instead, their captured families walked off the ship. Free, alive, changed. Grandmother Suman was among those who watched the return. She had survived the attack by hiding in a secret place deep in the forest. Now she watched as 200 of her people came home. But they were not the same people who had been taken. They walked differently. They moved with purpose and confidence. They carried weapons taken from their captors. The females and the males stood together as equals. Whatever had happened on that ship had transformed them. At the front of the group walked Yuna and Do-hyun. Between them walked little Haejin, who was now called the Ghost because of his bravery in the ventilation tunnels. The reunion lasted for days. There was crying and laughter and stories that seemed impossible. The captured Lunari told everyone what had happened. How the strange male from the stars had taught them to fight. How they had defeated an army of slavers. How they had taken a warship and sailed it home. Do-hyun became a legend that day. But he was not comfortable with the attention. He did not do what he did for glory. He did it because it was right. He found quiet places away from the celebrations, looking up at the stars and wondering if anyone was looking for him. Yuna found him one evening on a platform at the edge of the village. "You are thinking of your home," she said. "Yes," he did not lie to her. "I am happy that your people are safe. But I have a duty to my own people. They probably think I am dead." Yuna sat beside him. The 2 moons were rising, filling the forest with silver light. "You changed everything," she said. "Before you came, we did not know what we were capable of. Now we know." "You were always capable," Do-hyun replied. "You just needed a reason to discover it. The males are different now. They do not hide in the gardens anymore. Haejin is teaching others what you taught him. The young ones want to learn how to protect themselves and their families." This made Do-hyun smile. The change in the males was perhaps the most important result of everything that had happened. They had discovered that they could be brave. They could be heroes. Their size did not limit them. "Your world will be different now," he said. "You have met the wider galaxy. You know there are dangers out there. You will need to be ready. Will you help us?" The question was simple, But Do-hyun understood what she was really asking. Will you stay? Will you be part of our world? I need to contact my people, he said carefully. The ship we captured has communication systems. I can send a message to Earth, but it will take a long time for anyone to come. Space is very big. How long? Months? Maybe a year. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then you have time. Time to teach us more. Time to help us prepare for whatever comes next. Over the following weeks, the Lunari society began to change. Do-hyun worked with grandmother Sumin to create a new system of defense. They trained volunteers from every village. Females and males trained together. They learned to fight, but more importantly, they learned to think like soldiers. Do-hyun also shared other knowledge. How to build tools. How to work with metal. How to create simple machines that made life easier. He was careful not to give them too much too fast. Technology could be dangerous if it came without wisdom. The Lunari were good students. They were intelligent and creative. They took his teachings and improved upon them. They combined his knowledge with their own understanding of their world. Yuna became the first commander of the Silverwood Guard. She led a group of 50 trained warriors who protected the villages from any threat. It was a new role, one that had never existed in Lunari history. Haejun became her second in command. The former garden dweller was now a respected leader. Other males looked up to him as proof that size did not determine worth. 3 months after the escape, Do-hyun sent his message to Earth. He used the communication system on the captured ship, now renamed the Phoenix by the Lunari. The message was simple. His name, his situation, and his location. He asked for rescue, but said he would wait for as long as needed. Then he continued to live among the Lunari. Grandmother Sumin invited him to a private meeting one evening. She served him tea made from glowing flowers that tasted like honey and mint. You have changed our world, she said. For 1,000 generations, we lived one way. In a few months, you have shown us another way. I did not mean to change anything, Do-hyun admitted. I only wanted to help. The best changes come from those who do not seek change. They come from those who simply do what is right. The old woman studied him with her ancient purple eyes. What do you think of my granddaughter? Do-hyun was surprised by the question. He did not know that Yuna was related to grandmother Sumin. Yuna is remarkable, he said carefully. She is brave and smart. She will be a great leader. She watches you when you are not looking, grandmother Sumin said with a small smile. She speaks of you often. I think her feelings are more than respect. Do-hyun did not know how to respond. He had noticed Yuna's attention. He had felt something growing between them. But he was a stranger on her world. He might leave at any time. It did not seem fair to encourage feelings that might only lead to pain. I may not stay, he said honestly. Will my people come for me? If, grandmother Sumin corrected. If your people come for you. Space is big, you said. Many things could prevent them from reaching you. You should not wait to live your life based on things that may never happen. It was wise advice. 6 months later, Do-hyun made his decision. He went to Yuna on a warm night when the flowers in the forest glowed especially bright. I may never go home, he said to her. My message may never reach my people. Or they may not be able to come. I have thought about this for a long time. Yuna listened without speaking. Her purple eyes reflected the glowing flowers. I have also thought about you, Do-hyun continued. About us. About what I want from my life. I was a soldier. Fighting was all I knew. Here, I have found something different. Purpose, peace, and maybe something more. What are you saying? Yuna asked softly. I am saying that I want to stay. Not because I have no choice. Because I choose to stay. I choose this world. I choose these people. He paused. I choose you, if you will have me. Yuna did not answer with words. She answered by taking his hand in hers. Her skin was cool against his warmth. It felt right. 1 year after Do-yoon first fell from the sky, a wedding was held in Silverwood Village. The entire planet seemed to attend. A human male and a Lunari female joined their lives together in a ceremony that combined traditions from both their cultures. It was the first such union in history. It would not be the last. Because 2 months after the wedding, a fleet of United Earth ships arrived in orbit around Valora. They had received Do-yoon's message. They had come to rescue him, but Do-yoon did not want to be rescued anymore. He stood with Yuna and watched the ships descend. He was nervous. What would his people think? What would they say about his choice? The first officer to step off the lead ship was Captain Lee Soo-jin, an old friend of Do-hoon's from before the war. She looked at him. She looked at Yuna. She looked at the hundreds of blue-skinned people who stood behind them, many wearing armor and carrying weapons they had never possessed before. Then she smiled. Trust Park Do-yoon to crash land on an alien planet and start a revolution, she said. And so began a new chapter. Humanity met the Lunari. 2 species from different stars formed an alliance that would change the galaxy. Trade missions, cultural exchanges, combined military operations against the Crimson Fleet. At the center of it all stood Do-yoon and Yuna, the soldier who had learned to be more than a warrior, the peaceful woman who had learned to be a fighter. Together, they were proof that the differences between species mattered less than what they had in common. On quiet evenings, they would sit together on their platform and watch the moons rise over the silver forest. Sometimes Yuna would ask him if he missed Earth. Sometimes he said yes. But he always added the same thing. Home was not a place. Home was where you belonged. And he belonged here with her, on this beautiful alien world that had become his own. The stars above them sparkled with possibilities. The future was unknown. But whatever came, they would face it together. That was the human way. That was now the Lunari way too. And that made all the difference.